Everybody, and welcome to Tuesday Training. I hope you're having a fantastic week. As always,
we are live from Austin, Texas, right here at Insurance Syndicate headquarters. And man, we have a great show for you.
Good morning. What is up, man? Why does it always start me so small? I am definitely not small. How you guys doing this morning? It's Tuesday, so we got a little Tuesday training for you guys. Got some news, as always. And I want to talk to you guys a little bit about OEP strategies for those of you out there in the Medicare space. This is the time, right? I mean, we've been in OEP for a month now. And I've had some other shows, some other guests and other topics, but I want to dive into kind of some of the sales strategies, some of the things that you can do to make OEP successful for you, and some of the do's and don'ts. But before we dive in, as always, this show is brought to you by DFY CRM, my CRM of choice. I was sitting in a meeting with Tim, James, and Eric Fierro last week, looking at some of the new stuff they are doing to expand. I've been talking about it a bit, that we've got a few projects in the works in the CRM that we're rolling out, and I got to see under the hood a little deeper some of the things that Eric is throwing out there. I'm not allowed to say anything yet, but some of the stuff he's putting together for us, I haven't seen in any other white labeled CRMs or white labeled versions of Go High Level. So I know there's some sophisticated ones out there. I'm not out there to put anybody down, but I'm super pumped for some of the things that I see coming. So if you're interested in a CRM, if you're looking for good CRMs, I would highly recommend giving them a buzz. But as always, first, I do have some news I want to jump into real quick. And this is right here in my own backyard. The feds allege $3.4 billion with a B Medicare fraud scheme tied to a Russian citizen living in Austin, Texas. Like I said, it's right in my own backyard. I saw this get popped up late yesterday in the news. And, well, as you guys know, I like to talk about fraud and like to point it out to make sure that everybody understands that fraud is rampant in Medicare and Medicaid, and definitely in Medicare. And this one's interesting because this picks up on a fraud topic that I was talking about last year, close to the end of the year. I want to say maybe September or October. There's an episode that talks a little bit about the same company out of Delray Beach, Florida, that apparently now has an office, or at least has partners in crime right here in Austin, Texas. As you guys may remember, if you watch the show much, earlier or late last year, a lady here in Austin, Texas, technically in Cedar Park, Texas, one of the little suburbs of Austin, contacted me trying to get some help on what to do about what appeared to be fraudulent charges on her Medicare number. For any of you out there in the Medicare space, you know that anytime you have claims that are paid on your Medicare number or charged under your Medicare number, you get an explanation of benefits that shows all of those charges. And she had gotten her explanation of benefits and was not too happy about some of the things she saw. She had noticed that someone had been billing her for urinary catheters to the tune of about $3,600 a month, something like that, as I remember. She didn't need urinary catheters. She never ordered any urinary catheters. She never received any urinary catheters. But nonetheless, Sunshine Senior Solutions out of Delray Beach, Florida, had been billing her. Well, right here in this article from KXAN News in Austin, Texas, it says pretty simply that federal authorities say a Texas man helped orchestrate a healthcare fraud scheme that billed Medicare billions of dollars for medical equipment such as orthotic braces, glucose monitors, urinary catheters, and wound dressings that patients often did not need and in most cases never received. And this is according to the U.S. District Court criminal complaint uncovered by KXAN investigators. Nika Makutadze. It's a Russian citizen who is living in Austin, is charged with conspiracy to commit money laundering tied to the alleged fraud, which involved 2 durable medical equipment companies operating in Florida and Texas. The federal court records do not identify the Florida-based company. However, KXAN found Florida Secretary of State records show one business associated with Makutadze named Sunshine Senior Solutions. Guess what? There they are. So according to the affidavit, one of the companies submitted claims to Medicare for more than 1.6 million items. Not $1.6 million, for 1.6 million items of durable medical equipment billed to over 220,000 beneficiaries nationwide, resulting in $3.33 billion in Medicare charges. Investigators say Medicare processed approximately $1.78 billion of those claims as paid before suspending reimbursements. It goes on to say that a second company, Centurion Superior Medical LLC, based here in Austin, allegedly billed Medicare an additional $134 million in a little more than a month in 2025, with more than $90 million of that processed for payment, according to court records. And then the 2 companies in total billed Medicare more than $3.4 billion with a B. And that was more than $1.8 billion processed as paid. That is $1.8 billion of our tax dollars, your tax dollars, that are going to fraud. What are they doing with that money? Well, let's read on a little further. Authorities allege the companies frequently charged identical products to thousands of patients, backdated claims, and billed for equipment allegedly prescribed to deceased beneficiaries. Investigators said thousands of beneficiaries filed complaints, reporting they never received the equipment and had no medical need for it. Physicians whose names were used on claims told agents they did not authorize the referrals, and in some cases had never even heard of the companies involved. While Medicare eventually suspended payments, supplemental insurers and continued issuing reimbursements, allowing millions of dollars to flow into company bank accounts, according to the complaint. Authorities allege those funds were quickly transferred overseas, primarily to shell companies in Hong Kong, with little evidence of legitimate medical business expense. Makutadze is accused of conspiring with others to conceal the source of the proceeds, though a network of domestic and foreign accounts. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, apparently he had also purchased an airline ticket and was on his way to the United Arab Emirates before they snagged him. He was arrested by Federal Bureau of Investigation just recently on January 30th, and he's sitting in Travis County Jail, baby, right down the street from me. Wow. So again, I had spoken about Sunshine Senior Solutions. I appeared in a short news segment for a small news channel out of Florida because that lady had contacted me. This dude is hooked up with them. And it was funny because when I reported I helped that lady report the fraud to Medicare, and they said, oh, we're already aware of that company. We're watching them. And apparently they stand by and watch until I guess 3.4 billion is the number, before they actually act. Like, if you know the company's fraudulent, why do you have to wait until they rack up 3.4 billion before you go arrest somebody? Those are answers or questions that I cannot answer. Wow. And yes, Mark Figler, and yet we can't get paid commissions anymore for a PDP. This is a big reason why. I mean, think about that. Not just the fraud to Medicare, right? Original Medicare, that's one thing. But as it mentioned in this article, even though Medicare had caught it and stopped some of the payments, supplemental insurers, those are your Medicare supplement carriers, Aetna, Physicians Mutual, Mutual, whoever it is, they're still doling out claims money. And you wonder why rate increases for Medicare supplements have been high. That's definitely one reason. It's not the only reason, but that is one of many reasons. And I'd love to know. We've talked about this before on the show and among other thought leaders in the Medicare supplement space. Like, we'd love to know how much of the claims loss ratio that drives up Medicare supplement rates, what percentage of that is due to fraud such as this? This is the biggest one I've seen so far. 3.4 billion. You may also remember last year, I pointed out, I think it was, last year, I pointed out a couple in Scottsdale, Arizona. They were the biggest one I had found as far as on articles. I'm not the one discovering the fraud. I'm just reading the news articles. But they had done just over $1 billion, like 1.2 billion, 1.4 billion. Just a couple. And with a couple of savage doctors or whatever, fraudulent doctors that were out there. And they were doing skin grafts. And they had bilked Medicare for over $1 billion. This group is almost $4 billion to almost $3.5 billion. $3.4 billion of your taxpayer dollars. Get excited. Let's move on a little more, talking about fraud for a minute before we jump into some OEP training. Right here, CMS, this is from Washington Monthly. CMS takes aim at Medicare Advantage fraud. A surprise proposal to rein in insurer upcoding could save billions and sent Wall Street into panic. I'm not sure about Wall Street going into panic, but we'll see. What does it say here? Well, it says at the end of January, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services sent shockwaves through the healthcare industry when it proposed a substantially smaller than expected increase in the rate it will pay to private insurers to administer Medicare Advantage plan. The news sent stocks down. We talked about this last week, right? CMS final rule proposal for the Medicare Advantage payment rates only came in at 0.9%. Wall Street freaked out. Stocks plunged as high as 20%. I think Humana and United Health Group both lost about 20%. Other carriers, 8 to 12%, right in there, right? As far as stock prices. Why? Because Wall Street looks in the future. They were probably expecting like a 2 to 4% increase. They get 0.9. And of course, that's still just a projection. That is not a finalized proposal. But I would say that it is probably very likely that this administration is not going to dole out a bunch of money to Medicare this year. But think about it. Like, if they can go out and collect all that fraud that they're fixing and getting, like, come on, man, let's save Medicare some money. Maybe we can get that Part B premium back down. I don't know. Maybe I'm wishful thinking. See, Ron Ray's got a good comment here. He says, think about this too. That is money off the carrier's top line and maybe backdated too if CMS holds them accountable for not catching it on the MA side. Wow. Yeah, great point, Ron. But let's jump into this article a little more, right? So why did Trump and his team only propose 9% or 0.9%, 0.9%, less than 1%, right? Some of the things that they included in that proposal were not just like, hey, we're going to do this and that, right? We're just going to give you 0.9%. But it also has some risk adjustment changes. Bear with me a second to pull that piece of this article up. There it goes. Boom, right here. Let's just go from here. MA was sold to the American public as a cost-saving initiative. The thinking was that it would harness insurers' profit motives. It would harness insure. Come on, man. How are you going to harness corporate behemoths' profit motives? The thinking was that it would harness insurers' profit motive to that still makes me laugh. To reduce spending on unnecessary care, in contrast to the fee-for-service payment model of traditional Medicare. Instead, as any casual observer of American corporate behavior could have guessed, and that economic liberty showed in a 2024 white paper, insurers learned to game the system by buying up physician groups, hospitals, and other provider-side entities. Now they could influence how their MA enrollees were diagnosed and risk-coded in the eyes of the government. The scale of this upcoding fraud today is massive. In 2024, the government overspent on MA by a staggering $88 billion. $88 billion. And that reminds me real quick, there's another piece of news that I saw that I don't have pulled up. Give me 2 seconds to grab this one. Let's make sure I can locate it. And I probably can all of a sudden because I'm slow and stuff. I just saw an article that Kaiser Permanente settled their fraud claim with Medicare for $550-something million. All right, I'm not going to take too much time in the show to find it right now. I thought I could pull it up snap quick, but I'm struggling to get it on the fly. If anybody sees that, drop it in the link on the page. We'll make sure that that's pushed out there as well. But yes, Kaiser Permanente just settled their upcoding fraud case for $556 million. In 2024, the government overspent on MA by a staggering $88 billion versus traditional Medicare, mainly due to upcoding. Kaiser Family Foundation has talked about this. I know some agents will tell you that they're biased, and they probably are a little bit, but they have pointed out that Medicare Advantage cost about 22% more than original Medicare. Now, the new CMS proposal would eliminate one major form of upcoding fraud. CMS would no longer factor into the risk adjustment process, listen carefully, diagnoses that were made through unlinked chart reviews, where an insurer systematically reviews patients' medical records to add diagnoses without the patient having actually seen a doctor. So they're going back through medical records, historical medical records, and they're adding diagnoses to the patient without them having seen a doctor related to that. That's wild. CMS projects that eliminating such diagnoses would save the government $7.12 billion in 2027. A 2024 Wall Street Journal expose on chart reviews found that in many cases, patients were diagnosed with conditions that doctors said were anatomically impossible for them to get. For instance, Wall Street Journal found 66,000 patients were diagnosed with diabetic cataracts, even though they had already undergone cataract surgery. Okay. So there you go. They are going after upcoding hard to save money. If somebody sees the article from Kaiser Permanente, like I said, they just settled for something like $550 million in upcoding fraud. This is not the first time that we've seen that. But let's get on to some good news for a minute. Let's get on to a little bit of good news, or at least some better industry news. Looks like Scan is the big winner for AEP this year. So while some companies were shrinking, right? Some companies were reducing footprint, shedding members. Scan adds 127,000 members during Medicare's annual enrollment window. We started working with Scan about a year ago and have been extremely happy with it. But right here it says Scan Health Plan added 127,000 members during Medicare's AEP, making for 40.6% growth. This marks the most successful enrollment window in the nonprofit insurer's history, the company told Fierce Healthcare. Total membership at Scan sits at about 440,000 across 6 states with $8 billion in revenue. The company said in the announcement that about 25% of its new business resulted from new provider relationships, and that 100% of the people enrolled in plans who were eligible for the star ratings in a plan were at least 4 stars. Pow. Man, if you are in Texas, New Mexico, Nevada, California, or Arizona, and you do not have a Scan contract and you want one, give me a holler. But yeah, Scan is killing it. Killing it. So good article there. And with that, I want to jump into my main topic today. There's some news for you guys to look out. But what I really want to chat about with you guys some more is just, and I won't keep you too long, but I want to talk about some OEP strategies because we are definitely within OEP. OEP. And I just saw a post earlier today. Some of you may have seen it too. pardon me, and one of the other Medicare groups out there, that a gentleman and his agents claimed they had written over 40 OEP apps so far, and more than half of them got rejected. I'm not going to say what they're doing is wrong, but what they're doing is probably uneducated. I don't know if they are writing the wrong type of business. They don't understand the purpose of OEP or what it might be. But anyway, let's talk about what OEP is for. First of all, what can you do? What cannot you do during OEP? Now, OEP is the open enrollment period. That is the technical CMS definition for that acronym OEP, not to be confused with AEP, annual election period, which generally people loosely call open enrollment. Hence, a lot of the confusion, especially for new agents in our business that are still new, because we've had explosion in agent uptick, et cetera, agent growth, and they don't know the difference between AEP and OEP, right? AEP is pretty much for anybody that wants to move in and out of Medicare Advantage plans, right? They want to enroll in one for the first time. They want to exit one, whatever it might be. They can change their drug plan, et cetera. OEP is only for one group of people. The only group of Medicare beneficiaries, which is a lot of them. It's a lot of them. The only group of Medicare beneficiaries that can take advantage or make use of OEP are people that are currently enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan, whether it's a Medicare Advantage only plan or a Medicare Advantage Part D plan, doesn't matter. The only group of beneficiaries, which, as we know, if we keep up with the stats, is about 54% of them now, probably a little less after this year's hiatus and mass exits for some of the carriers, but about 50% or more of beneficiaries can actually make use of this. It's only for people that are currently enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan as of January 1st, period. Doesn't matter how long they've been in that plan, just that as of January 1st, they are actively enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan. That is the only group of people that can take advantage or utilize the 90-day window known as open enrollment period, or OEP. For your Medicare supplement, people that have a drug plan, it's not for them. They can't use it to change their drug plan. They can change their Medicare supplement plan anytime they want, 365 days a year, as long as they can get through the health questions, with exception of the states that have birthday rules and anniversary rules, if it's also coincides in those months. But they can't change their drug plan during OEP, which I think is shitty, personally. That's something that NABEP's trying to fix for a while, but nobody will fix it. Nobody cares. But they will allow a 90-day churn period. Let's call it that. Let's just really call it the 90-day churn period of OEP. Now, a long time ago, OEP used to only be 45 days. It used to be January 1st to February 15th. And I don't remember the exact date that it was expanded. And I really don't remember the reasoning that it was expanded. I want to say there was some form of federal emergency that expanded it, and then they just never went back to the 45-day window. But since they've expanded it, and as the agent base has grown, et cetera, OEP has been responsible, or I will say OEP has accelerated the amount of churn that happens in the Medicare Advantage space. And the only rule that CMS has placed on it to try to prevent, or let's say harness, like they're trying to harness corporate insurers' profit motives. The only thing they've done to try to harness agents' profit motives is they said, hey, you're not allowed to advertise OEP, right? So I can't post an ad online or on Google or in a newspaper or send out a piece of direct mail. I can't create a piece of marketing or an advertisement that says, hey, it's open enrollment period for all you Medicare Advantage enrollees. This is your last chance to make one final change to make sure that you're in the plan that you like. We're not allowed to do that, right? That's one of the you cannot do's. So you cannot flip people that have a Part D plan during OEP, right? You cannot take people from Medicare Supplement to Medicare Advantage during OEP. You can't just take people from original Medicare into Medicare Advantage during OEP. It is only for people that have an MA and they want to make a change, whether they want to go back to original Medicare and then enroll in a PDP and maybe try to qualify or pick up a Medicare supplement, or if they want to switch from one MA to another MA. And then the other thing you cannot do is you cannot advertise OEP. I cannot create a organic post, paid ad, any type of marketing campaign that advertises, here's the key part, the language of OEP. That doesn't mean I can't market during OEP. I just can't use the language of OEP in those marketing pieces, right? So I hope that makes sense. That's a big cannot do. And that is supposed to be the one rule that harnesses agents' profit motives. And as we know, most agents, or I'm not going to say most, I apologize. A lot of agents do not follow that. I see agents that make organic posts about OEP all the time, right? We know for a fact that agents will call beneficiaries during OEP, right? And their main motive is to get that person on the phone. Now, they might be using a compliant call script of some sort, right? Maybe their call script is trying to sell final expense or something of that nature. And then they find out as they're chatting with that person that, oh, you're on a Medicare Advantage plan. Well, didn't you know that it's open enrollment period? Are you happy with your Medicare Advantage plan? You still get a shot to make a change. And they're getting your customers. So one of my beefs that I always have with agents or an OEP, and I get it, like you're a professional, you do very well, your clients love you, is that some of us run around with the idea that we're so good at what we do, our clients would never talk to another agent. Our clients would never change their Medicare Advantage policy. We're too good. And then we go and we ignore them during OEP thinking that they're safe, and we find other marketing things to do or other items, whatever it might be. And that is the 100% wrong approach. Why? Because this is a hyper-competitive space and agents are getting your clients on the phone. 100% they're getting your clients on the phones one way or another. And in some cases, your clients have valid complaints because maybe you didn't do your due diligence, or maybe some other agent didn't do their due diligence, or maybe they didn't. And then it turns out, oh, my doctors aren't in network like we thought they were, or this plan doesn't cover my prescriptions like we thought it did. Whatever that might be. So they need OEP to fix that problem. And if a different agent is the one that gets them on the phone when they express their need to fix the problem that didn't get properly fixed during AEP, guess who wins that business? And guess who gets a full chargeback? So I am of the opinion that unless you're brand new at the business and you only have a very small handful of people, and even if you do have a small handful, like if all you got is like 20 apps on the book so far from AEP, you should still do this during OEP. I am of the opinion that you or an assistant of yours should contact every one of your clients during OEP, every single one of them, whether you're getting them on the phone or you're doing it through an email or you're doing it through a direct mail, some type of communication. And I would recommend just a phone call and try to get them on the phone. And you should call them January, February, and March. You should call them at least 3 times. Minimum. And you should have a very simple conversation with them. Hey, Betty, it's me, Tony. I helped you with your Humana plan during AEP. I wanted to check in with you. Have you had a chance to use your plan yet? Have you had any problems in the process of using it? And if they say yes at all, I mean, if they say, yes, I have used it, yes, I've had problems, then it's your job now, because you're in front of them. You can discover what those problems are, and then you can work to fix them and keep them in your book of business. Yes, you'll get a rapid enrollment from one carrier, but you'll replace it with the next carrier. And that's way better than another agent getting them on the phone and finding out, oh, you're in a Medicare. I wasn't calling you about Medicare Advantage because by means that's illegal. I'm not supposed to do that on a cold call. But since you brought it up and your dissatisfaction with that Humana plan that Tony sold you last AEP, where's your agent? How come he's not calling you and helping you out? Well, let me go ahead and fix that. I can get you fixed up for February 1st, piece of cake. Right? So you have that conversation in January, you have it again in February, and you have it again in March. Because you might call them in January and be like, hey, Betty, it's me, Tony. I helped you with your Humana plan during AEP. Or back in, I wouldn't say things like AEP. Hey, Betty, it's Tony. I helped you with your Humana plan last November. Have you had a chance to use your plan? Have you had any problems when using your plan? They might answer those questions. No, I haven't had a chance to use it yet. Right? So then the next question is unnecessary. Have you had any problems when you use that one? Doesn't make sense. Have you had a chance to use your plan yet? No, I haven't. Okay, no problem. Do you have any upcoming doctor's appointments? And if you know your client, you already know they might have some prescriptions. When are you due to go refill your prescriptions? You find that information out, you make a note, and you set a task. And then you call them back when they get on the other side of that date. Hey, Betty, it's me, Tony, again. I helped you with that Humana plan back in November. You told me you had a doctor's appointment coming up with your primary care physician, Dr. Johnson. How'd that appointment go? Excellent. Do you have any issues using your plan? Oh, you went and filled your prescriptions up too? Perfect. How did everything work just like I told you it would? And most likely, if you're doing a good job for your client, they're going to tell you, yeah, it worked great. It worked just like you told me it would, Tony. And that's a positive, because now you can build on that and you can say something like this. That's great, Betty. Most of my clients have the exact same experience you do. However, some of my clients do experience higher costs when using their plan. You probably remember when I went through the summary of benefits with you, I pointed out the 3 biggest gaps in cost sharing that you're responsible for: your hospital co-payments, any skilled nursing co-payments, and your Part B co-insurance for outpatient drugs and therapy. Now, when you're using your plan and you run into those costs, they could run you as high as the maximum out of pocket, which again on your plan is $7,400. Now, Betty, in the event that you need to come out of pocket for $7,400, is that going to be a problem? Oh my, I don't know how I could afford that. Did you tell me about those costs before? Yes, ma'am, I did. We went over them. Now, what I'd like to do is show you how most of my clients bring those costs down to zero with the simple hospital indemnity plan, run you about $35, $38, maybe $50 a month. And if you're savvy, you already know the rate and what you want to pitch before you even get them on the phone. It isn't like, oh, now hang on a second, let me go back and actually run a quote for you and figure it out. Like with the tools that we have nowadays are ridiculous. Hint, hint, Eric Fierro, if you're paying attention to this. The tools that we have now are ridiculous. So when you're calling Betty back to run this retention call, which is really a cross-marketing call disguised as retention, it only becomes a retention call when they tell you they're having problems, right? That you can cut off, field it, fix it, flip their plan if necessary, and now you have them locked in for the whole year. Otherwise, it's really just a cross-marketing call disguised as a retention call because you care and you're calling your client to check in on them, right? As you should anyway. And then you tee up your hospital indemnity plan and you're able to give them a rate for what you believe would be the best hospital indemnity plan for them. If you already know that their Humana plan or whatever it is runs 7 days of hospital co-payments at $350 a day, and you already know what the skilled nursing co-payment is, and you probably already know that Part B drugs are 20%, then you should easily be able to build out a hospital indemnity plan that covers those co-payments for the hospital, includes some skilled nursing, and has a little bit of a cancer rider on there for maybe $5,000 to $10,000. You could probably bring that in somewhere between $50, maybe $70, depending on Betty's age. And if that's too much, scale it down, whatever you got to do. But you should already have that rate so that when you have this conversation, you can say, Hey, Betty, that's great to hear. Most of my clients have the exact same experience you do, but some of my clients experience higher costs when they use their plan. You may remember when I went through that summary of benefits with you, I pointed out the three biggest gaps in coverage: your hospital copayments, your skilled nursing copayments, and your Part B coinsurance. What a lot of my clients do to bring those costs down is they enroll in a simple hospital indemnity plan, which for you would be $38.42 a month. And that would bring those costs down to nearly zero. Now, does $38.42 sound more affordable than $7,400? Oh, why, yes, it does. Perfect. Go get your checkbook, Betty. Let's get this done. That's basically it. If you're in California, you can't have this conversation. I'm sorry, Franco. But if you're selling in other states, you can. California is a bunch of idiots, not you, Franco, the governor that said, hey, there's no more supplemental insurance that can be sold in all of California. He wants, if you have supplemental insurance needs like cancer, heart, stroke, they just want you on Medi-Cal instead. But if you're in most states, you can have this conversation with people. Now, alternatively, let's take Franco Stella's situation that's out there in California. And he's like, damn it, I can't call people and have this conversation to sell them hospital indemnity or cancer insurance or home health care insurance. He can sell them final expense as a secondary option. Another great thing that you can do during OEP, call your book back. Hey, Betty, it's me, Tony. I helped you with the Humana plan back in November. Same conversation. Have you had a chance to use your plan? Have you had any problems when using your plan? If that's a yes, yes, and you're building on a positive, perfect, Betty. Pretty much all my clients have the same experience on that Humana plan. It's one of the higher rated ones. One of the reasons you and I chose it. So now that we know that we have your health care taken care of well, I wanted to talk to you about life insurance. Do you already have your funeral insurance in place or your burial insurance in place? Whatever nomenclature you want to use doesn't matter, right? Now that we have your health care taken care of solid, I want to talk to you about life insurance. Do you already have your funeral insurance in place? Why do I word it that way? Because it's a bucket list item for most of them. They know that they're a ticking time bomb that could die at any moment in most cases. They know that that's something they need to do. So you're only going to, when you ask that question, do you already have this taken care of? They're going to respond basically one of three ways. Yes, already got it. I went and bought a policy with ABC Life Insurance. And then you can either take that and lay down, or you can be like, well, hey, perfect. I'm glad to hear you're covered. Just curious, if I could get you a better rate on the same type of policy, would you let me compare it with you? And then maybe you can get a shot at replacing it for a cheaper rate for the same thing. Or they're going to respond, no, I haven't done that yet. It's on my list of things to do. Or they're going to respond, is that something you can actually help me with? I thought you only did Medicare. In which you should respond something like, yeah, I do a lot of it. Most people only think I'm a Medicare agent, but I help most of my Medicare clients take care of their end of life needs as well, or their burial insurance, their funeral insurance, whatever it is. And then write them a simple, and again, you should already have the rate set up. Like when you're calling and doing these calls, you should already have the rate ready to go so that you don't have to waste any time. Hey, Betty, this is Tony. I helped you with that Humana plan back in November. Have you had a chance to use your plan yet? Have you had any problems when using it? No. Hey, that's great. Most of my clients have the exact same experience you do, so it's not really a shocker. That's one of the highest rated plans in your area. One of the reasons you and I chose it. So now that we know that we have your healthcare taken care of tip top, I want to quickly talk to you about life insurance. Do you already have your burial insurance taken care of? No, I haven't done that yet. Is that something you can help me with? I can definitely help you. I don't know if you've looked into this yet, but in California, the average cost of a funeral with burial is yada, 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 which I know for some people can be a lot of money. So what most of my clients do is they take out a simple piece of final expense insurance or final expense life coverage, which for you would run $54.39, whatever that number is. Well, that's more affordable than I thought it would be. Absolutely. Now that's designed to help take care of your funeral and whatever. I want to be real clear in when the time comes, your beneficiary that you get to choose is going to receive a check for this amount, and they're going to use that. That they can use it however they want, to, obviously, to take care of your end of life needs. And then you do some extra discovery. Are you looking to be cremated? Are you looking to be buried? Do you have any additional needs from beyond the grave? Do you have any debt that you need to pay off when you're gone? Do you have any grandchildren you want to leave some money to? Anything like that that you can add into there, right? And then you can build the policy up to meet their needs. Don't oversell it, but there you go. Dude, that is OEP action in a nutshell. If you have any level of Medicare Advantage policies on the books or Medicare supplements, you should be calling them back and having these conversations. And if you call them in January and you find out there's a problem with their current plan that you sold them back in November, you can fix it. You can prevent, I mean, you'll get a rapid disenrollment for one carrier, but you'll replace it to the other. So at least you're saving your own commission. You're keeping your client on the books and you're preventing another agent from stealing them from you. But then when you call and you don't find problems and they're super happy with their plan, you can introduce your secondary products, whatever they might be. And if you're new to this and you're a little bit uncomfortable asking for second products, my best advice would be to pick one. Don't try to market them all. Pick one: final expense, hospital indemnity, cancer, home health care. Those would be my top 4 choices, somewhere in that gamut. Pick one and learn to market that one as a secondary product. And then when you get good at that one, you can market tertiary products and so forth, right? And I'm saying this assuming that you're not doing sophisticated bundles at time of sale, which is a whole nother conversation. Hint, hint, Eric Fierro, if you're listening to this show today. No, we're here dropping hints like crazy about his CRM. But anyway, but if you wanted to have sophisticated, then learn to bundle on the same conversation. But for those of you who are like, I'm not quite there yet, I'm struggling with that, dude, it's super easy to cross-market on a secondary call. And that is the difference. I mean, ultimately, that is the difference between agents that make some money and agents that make some bank. Because not only are you going to increase your commissions when you cross-market, and we talked about this, I've talked about this again recently, that increases your retention on your business. And when you do that, then obviously that does increase your income as well, right? Fairly simple. So that is the show for the day. Fairly simple, right? I had some news for you. We talked about some fraud. Scan obviously blowing up again. If you are out there in California, Arizona, Nevada, Texas, New Mexico, and you are in need of a scan contract, feel free to give me a holler. I'd be happy to show it to you, help you out on it. And then other than that, man, learn to cross market. Stop being lazy. Lazy agents don't cross market. Lazy agents get exited out of the business eventually. But if you really want to build a book and you really want to make some bank, think about it. If your Medicare Advantage plan, let's not even do new to Medicare. Let's just say replacement business is what is it this year? 348, right? Is your replacement rate for most states, not including California, where you get more money, or Connecticut or Jersey, some of the other states. But let's just say you're getting $348. So in AEP, you write 100 apps, make yourself $34,800. That's not too shabby. But what if 1 out of every 3 of those 100 Medicare Advantage policyholders also bought a hospital indemnity plan at an average rate? Let's just say $30 for super easy, so I can make it super easy math. So that's another 30 policyholders, 33 technically, at $30. That is what is that, $9,900 in premium? In annual premium, is that right? Or that's monthly, monthly premium. Am I right on that? Right? 30 policyholders, 33. I don't know. I'm terrible at math sometimes. And then take that and multiply it by an average commission rate on the hospital indemnity plans. Sorry, that's $990 a month in premium. So times 12. I was close. I just have one extra zero. Is basically 12 grand in annual premium. So now let's multiply that times the average contract. I'm just going to say 0.5%. That's kind of on the low end. That's an extra $6,000 in commissions, first year commissions only. So you took that $33,000 and you turn it into basically 40 grand, pretty close to it. That's a nice jump. I mean, that's about a, what is that, an 18% increase in your comp first year? What if you could write 1 out of 2, which is not that hard. Truthfully, what if you could get to where you write 3 out of 5? It's doable. Talk to my wife about it. She rips hospital indemnity plans. She's very good at it. Very good at it. And I know my buddy Justin Brock and his crew, they write more ancillary than probably anybody on the planet. So, I'm going to end on this. I know I kind of said I was going to wrap up the show, but I'm going to end on one more note. The easiest way to increase your income in Medicare is there's 2 ways to increase your income in Medicare. One is write more people. If you just write more clients, you make more money. Duh. Or you can write more policies per client. Which one do you think is easier? Is it easier to find and market to and write more people? Or is it easier to write more policies per person that already trusts you? Doesn't take a rocket surgeon to figure that out. So there you go. Use OEP for cross marketing. That's 100% what it's meant for, to retain your business, not necessarily go find new people. You will still, by nature of the business, find new people, right? The other thing that I would recommend you do is take that $33,000 or $38,000 that you made during AEP and invest in some T65 marketing and get that train running for you as fast as you can. So there you go, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful Tuesday. Have a wonderful week. And we will see you next week for Tuesday training.